When I was a young piano student, I had to practice scales. In my piano lessons, I would be assigned a scale in a particular key, and I had to demonstrate in the next lesson that I could play that particular scale smoothly. My initial reaction to this, as a 12-year-old piano student, was, why do I have to do this? What is the purpose of me playing these scales? Fortunately for me, my teacher and other teachers with whom I studied tried to explain to me why I needed to learn these seemingly boring exercises. Now, I've met many former piano students, and they quit their lessons partly because they got bored, and very often they were assigned scales to practice, but it was never properly explained to them why they should be practicing these scales. Well, I'm going to give you 5 reasons why you should be practicing scales. Doesn't matter if you're playing classical music or popular music. Reason number 1, scales are a vital element of music. Most music theory courses will state that the basic building blocks of music are harmony, melody, and rhythm. And that's very true. Now, harmony is when multiple notes or voices play simultaneously to produce a new sound. The combined sounds in harmonies complement one another and they sound pleasing. So harmony is the combination of chords and melody. And here's the key. The chords are made up of notes from a scale. And the melody is often created using fragments of scales, sometimes even a whole scale, like the Christmas carol, Joy to the World. The whole melody is a descending scale. Well, not all melodies, of course, are scales, but you can hear bits of scales in many melodies. Now, reason number 2, practicing scales helps you gain an overall sense of how each particular key sounds. You'll train your ear to hear the difference between major and minor, and even hear the difference between different kinds of minor, the harmonic, the melodic, the natural. And you can even expand this to include modes. And so practicing scales will enable you to hear the difference between major, minor, and the modes. Reason number 3, playing scales will make you focus on the foundations of your piano technique. In other words, you will develop the coordination and dexterity of your fingers. Now, as you learn to play the piano, and I'm going to use the word piano even though I'm also referring to keyboards, because I know that many of you have keyboards in the house, and they're just as good as pianos for the most part. Anyway, playing scales will allow you to focus on your posture and your finger movements. You'll get your muscles, all the muscles that are involved in playing the piano, you'll get those muscles used to moving in detailed patterns, which will increase your speed and your accuracy. Reason number 4 for practicing scales. If you're learning to read piano music, and that is a most worthy goal, scales can help you become better at reading music. Now, scales are simply sets of patterns. A lot of music, as I've mentioned, is based around fragments of those patterns. Now, when you see the scales written out in music notation, you'll begin to spot those patterns in the pieces that you're learning. If you're playing classical music, you're going to find a lot of famous classical pieces use scales. Now, I've already used as an example this famous Mozart piano sonata. And then we have all kinds of scales in there. Now, if you're learning a song from a lead sheet, you'll find that the melodies, of course, contain fragments of those same scale patterns. You'll be able to recognize them in the notation. Also, as you study scales, Key signatures, chords, modulations, all the advanced aspects of music theory will become easier when you gain a solid knowledge of scales. And reason number 5, if your desire is to learn to improvise, then knowing your scales inside and out is essential. This even goes beyond knowing the major and minor scales, but also the modes. Mastering scales and modes gives you a solid foundation upon which you can build your skills as an improviser. Now that, in and of itself, is a vast subject, which I hope we can explore together. So now, you've got 5 reasons as to why you should practice scales. But now you may be asking, well, okay, how do I get started? How do I do this? Well, that's what I'm going to show you in future videos. Now, some of this I was taught as a beginning piano student all the way back in the late 60s. Some of these methods I've developed over my career, over the years in my career as a professional musician. We're going to start slow. Don't want you to worry about getting overwhelmed here. And we will cover every key and every mode. You'll be able to follow along as I introduce each scale exercise. So finally, I want to encourage you, stick with this. This is going to require some work, but you will reap the benefits. So be sure to stay tuned. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please leave those in the comment section below. I answer every question as best I can, and I respond to every comment. I look forward to speaking to you in the next one.